What's up guys, Jordan from Bennetts Customs, back on another episode of the race car. As you can see beside me, got frame rails in, we have the wishbone set up. I've just split these, we got the front end to go in, and we have another transmission mount to make for this frame. We got some boxes to tick this episode, so I want to make sure I cover quite a few things, so let's get into it. So we have our original rails in, I've boxed them. Unfortunately, I was never really happy with the way this transmission mount was. It was going to do the trick, but what I had always intended was to have these connected somehow just to add a bit more rigidity to the frame rather than it connected through a rubber bushing. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a 33 mount, these are closer, which would have been amazing to use. But basically I'm already really limited for foot room in here. And this protruding kind of this area is not great. So what I'm thinking, and I'm not sure if this is going to work yet, but bear with me. I'm going to take this gasket off. I'm going to trace this out onto some steel and cut it out. I'm going to use a different style mount, or maybe these again, but basically I'm going to pick up the back of this transmission. I'm going to cut these ears off, and then I'm going to build the mount down here with a cross member that goes across. And what that's going to do is entirely free up this whole area. So I can technically have like a floor that goes all the way through to be able to slide my feet in, and then I have an area for clutch and an area for the gas pedal. I'm going to obviously have a handbrake for the rear brakes, and I'm not running front brakes, so that's not an issue. So what I would just want to try to achieve is getting these huge knees set up and these big legs and boots somewhere in here. And right now, it's just not the most, don't have the best room. What I have here is the coupler that goes between the torque tube and the mount to the transmission. I'm using this as a template. I'm gonna cut this out around here. I'm basically just gonna trace this with the plasma cutter, drill these holes, so I'll transfer punch them over. And then down here, I'm just gonna make a mount, and I'm gonna cut a line that I can bend this 90 degrees. This is gonna pick up the back of the transmission. This will be flipped up, and a mount will be able to go directly underneath of it. So everything is staying straight down from the transmission, allowing lots of foot room. So let's see how this works out. Hopefully you can kind of see this. But basically I've got this mounted down, I've traced around it, it comes straight down here. This is going to pick up the bottom of that, and basically I'm going to do a line through here, and this will get broken at 90 degrees, and then we'll basically allow that. So this is kind of the setup that we're trying to achieve, is something like this. So let's cut this out with the plasma, we'll give that a break, and we'll see how it's going to look. So we got this cut out, and now I need to cut the center out, obviously, for the yoke and drive shaft to come through. Basically, I'm just using the plasma again. I've just cut a little hole, made some flat bar, countersunk it slightly so that the tip sits right inside there, and hopefully we'll achieve a relatively clean cut all the way around as long as I can stay consistent. And I have drilled a hole just to allow a start point, just to allow that arc to go straight through rather than kind of bouncing back up into the electrode. So let's see how we go. So with a little bit of cleanup, we're able to get the inside looking relatively clean. And basically, this is kind of the idea that I have. So it's gonna sit down, I'll break right on this line here, and then we'll have a 90-degree mount off the bottom. So it'll pick up right off the back of the transmission. So let's go over to our mate Liam's place, who's got a massive press brake, and we'll bend that 90 degrees. Gee whiz, that plasma table seems like a real good idea. But that's basically what I was after. Just nice blend. It's got lots of weld on there. Should be okay. That will get fixed to the transmission. This will get mounted to that. And then I can build the crossmember off here. So let's mount it on the transmission and see what it looks like. All right, so the rear mount is now fixed to the back of the transmission. And you can kind of see what I'm trying to achieve here. So it, you know, once that coupler goes on here, basically I have to cut the drive or the torque tube anyways, so it's okay that I've put that piece in there. And what I'm thinking is I'm just going to cut these wings off on either side, and then basically I'll have so much leg room. And what I need to do now is fix from here up to underneath the frame rail with a little gusset, so it doesn't protrude too much, and then kick back up onto this side. Yeah, so basically you can kind of see it does not hang as low as the pan, so it should be okay if it sits at that point, as long as I make the cross member sit a little bit up above with the plate coming underneath to pick that up. So that should work out. This is definitely a lot better of a way of doing this. I got tons of room, so this is going to work really well. All right, so I have a few scribbles here, frame rails, transmission mount, and basically what I need to be able to make this work. So I got some really good poster card that I'll be cutting everything out of, and gonna just make a cardboard template, hold it up, make sure it works, and then we will transfer it onto some steel. this is what I've cut out, and basically I'm trying to achieve something that looks like that. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this out, make an I-beam style cross member that's relatively light but structural, and weld it in. So I have my 2 pieces that I've cut out, I've grinded, cleaned them up, and I've also scribed a center line. And basically the whole idea is I'm going to make like an I-beam kind of style cross member and maybe drill some holes. So that's going to sit like that, and that will sit, and that will basically, and then I'll weld a plate off the bottom of this, and that will pick up the bottom of the transmission. We'll bend up this end and get this thing tacked in. All right, so we have the cross member clamped up on the table, ready to be welded. I am just gonna tack it in a few areas, just make sure I'll dry fit it, make sure everything fits properly, and then I'll go back and I will do a few stitches all the way around, maybe drill some holes in it, not too sure yet, but basically gonna get this fixture made into one piece, and then I'll hold it up under there and see what we need to do. back up onto the table, probably not for the last time, but we have got the Crossmember tacked into place. I removed the motor and we just flipped it over. So I'm just gonna go around and actually finish weld this on, and this is the job done basically once this is welded in. Yeah, like I had mentioned before, we didn't need to make this removable purely because I've made the section that comes off the back of the transmission removable. This just ties everything in. So now structurally, with these stock frame rails being boxed, tied into the front and rear, and then with this crossmember through it, the rigidity of this should be, exactly kind of what we were trying to achieve. So basically, I'm going to get this welded up, and that's the deal. Okay, we've got the car up on the wood stands. Basically, it's just a great working height to be able to start to get this thing looking like a car. Super happy with the way that this crossmember turned out. It's allowed me to have so much more room for my feet and my legs, and to be able to build like a floor kind of off the bottom of it or off the top is going to be just awesome as far as, with the small amount of room I have. I think we've made the most of it. Yeah, on the next episode, we will be shortening the torque tube and drive shaft as well. That's going to be a bonus because then we can kind of see where that's going to sit and where we're able to put a seat. So that'll be good, as well as we are going to get those split wishbones mounted, which is great. So essentially, once that's done and our trailing arms for the rear, wishbones on the front, this thing is basically where it's going to be as far as wheelbase, keeping everything true and square. So I'm really looking forward to it. And then after that, it's body time. We got to make this thing actually look like something. So I'm super excited. We'll see you guys on another episode next week. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, hit that notifications button. And again, just let us know what you guys think in the comments. It's been amazing. I say it every time, but seriously, the positive feedback that we get from this definitely makes it well and truly worth doing. So we'll see you guys on another episode. Bennetts Customs.